Hello. Just getting logged in. Set up here. Plugged in. There we go. How are y'all doing tonight? All right. There we go. It feels very bright in here tonight. I don't know why. It's like brighter than normal. Let's see. All right, so just getting logged in here, getting everything set up as far as talking about narcissism. On here, try to answer questions, talk through some stuff, narcissism-wise, talk through some different things that are going on and coming down the pipe, narcissist-related. Been having a couple one-on-ones the past couple days, not too many, but a couple, just talking with different people, talking to different narcissists as well, that we're going through different issues or having moments of recollection of like, oh, I actually might be a narcissist. So like starting to open up and understand like, hey, that's the thing that they haven't been used to. My nose is still all messed up, but anyways, today was a decent day, so just getting back in here. Hey Chelsea, how are you? You at 1,000 yet? Just kidding. I haven't even looked. Yeah. I'm doing alright. Today was a day. So between yesterday and today, it felt a little bit more of a narc day, but it's alright. It's a day. Hola. How are you doing today? Good to see you on here. Good to see everybody. Well, anyways, just wanted to jump on here. So starting back up, now that we're through the holidays, starting back up the Thursday night lives with talking with narcissism. And oh yeah, that's right, I forgot, you're in quarantine. We're just talking about narcissism, talking about, people's questions about it and everything that goes on with it. So how it's affected my life, how it's affected my marriage, how it's affected our life. I think it's been like crazy, and ever since we've been on this platform, just starting to introduce more people to narcissism, answer questions from a narcissistic perspective, help people understand what's going on through narcissistic brain, everything like that. Thank you so much. I see people sharing the live. If you guys do a bunch of likes on it as well, it like puts it out to algorithm, sends it out to more people as well. So thank you all so much. I'm in Virginia. But yeah, if they try to reverse hoover you and you don't give in, will they try reaching out? Can't always say, never say never, but can't always say that it's going to happen. A lot of times they will try to reach out, no, but sometimes it's a reverse hoover. Sometimes they get to a place where they don't care or they're not really going to take the time to come back. Maybe they think it's like too much effort. It really just kind of depends. Some of them are pretty lazy when it comes to it as well. Can you pick up traits for one being a narcissist? I don't think you can become one, but you can definitely pick up traits. I'm still stuffed up. I got like sinus issues going up. But yeah, you can pick up traits as far as like people call it, I think like narcissistic fleas, like where you become like the narcissist in some aspects. Obviously, you also pick up different traits with reactive abuse of how you respond or how you figure out how you're going to survive the narcissist. Like a lot of times that's part of it too. You got 1,000.
Yay!
Hey, how are you?
Good. I figured I'd guest request. I don't have to stay on, but as soon as you said that I sent the guest request, I was like, oh yeah, well I did get 1,000. So
That is awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, I didn't. I just now saw it, and I was like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "What? That's awesome."
it's me.
Well, sweet. Congrats.
Stop sending me threats. Are you threatening someone?
No.
you you hesitated.
No, oh my gosh. The lag. Did they ever miss an ex they knew was too good for them? No, not really. Why does a narcissist try and call the empath a narcissist? Some of that's projecting, where they like put it on them, even though they know that they're the narcissist. Other times it's just a way to diffuse is not the right word. Like redirect. Like if they can put it back on you, so that you're taking the time and you're not actually like coming at them, it'll make you start doubting yourself, make you start questioning a lot of things that's going on, and they can get like the upper hand. They can control you even more. Advice for the scapegoat of a narcissistic father. Um, that's a tough one. Why did they
Let
tell you
them.
that you? What's up?
I said let them. Just don't respond. Be the scapegoat. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Why do they tell you that you don't do anything for them, but then ask you to do everything for them? I mean, some of that is just like a guilt trip, trying to get you to doubt yourself, gaslight you, but then also just be able to control you even more. A lot of it is about control. I had someone who messaged me today, I think on Instagram, was like, "Isn't like narcissism like mainly about control?" And in one sense, a lot of it is. A lot of it's shame underlying, but then you want to be able to control everything around so you don't have to feel the shame.
That one's a good one. Why do they deny what they have done even when you show them proof? Because even black and white proof does not exist. That would mean that they messed up.
Yeah, that would mean that they'd have to be accountable and like responsible for it. So like if I can, like I mean I'd be confronted like even with like something like black and white of like no, like this is a fact, and I'd be like no, like that's your perspective, or like no, like that's how you view it. Like my wife and I, we get into like a funny argument all the time about like time zones. And I always like joke with her. It's a joke now, but like I always joke with her that like California and stuff like that is like ahead of us, and she's like, no, they're technically like behind. Like we go like back and forth, and like there's no like answer that I end up like agreeing to. And even if she gets to the place where logically she's like, it's like making sense, I like figure a way to like just move past it. I'm like, I'm not gonna admit I'm wrong. Like that'd be too crazy. What I mean. Do they really feel zero guilt for what they put you through? So they typically feel just about zero guilt, or they feel like microscopic guilt in one sense. Like they feel it and then they move it away really quick. So they're trying to hide that shame and that guilt as fast as possible, which is why they end up coming back with rage, why they end up attacking you, why they end up, burying it deep down inside so that they don't have to feel guilt. Because if they feel guilt, they have to actually be honest about who they are and what they're actually doing. How they feel when they get zero response from a Hoover. Sometimes it makes them Hoover more. Sometimes they get bored and they move on to the next one. Unfortunately, there's not a concrete one way or another. How do you explain you're just mirroring their behaviors, such as fear, physical touch, or fun me?
So I started mirroring his behavior to try and show him how he was acting. And then it made me the bad guy. So the only way to explain mirroring to someone is by making them go stand in front of a mirror, because when you think about like mirroring somebody, you have to understand where they're coming from in order to do it. And most of the time that empathy, understanding each other's emotions, is not going to be there. So the only way to explain mirroring is to go stand them in front of a mirror and be like, this is what I'm doing to you. It won't work. Don't do it. It's not advised. Like, do not do it.
I feel like for me, like mirroring is like a way to be able to connect and then like manipulate. So like if I mirror you, then you end up being like more attracted or more like connected of like, oh, like we do some of the same exact things. And then like as that progresses, it ends up being like a pull that I can pull on each time.
I thought she meant like the victim mirroring, so my bad.
I actually don't know. And now it's like 10 comments above, so I'm not sure. Thank you so
Being
much.
the
Yeah, a lot of times they'll play the victim. A lot of times they view themselves the victim. They'll gaslight, lie, manipulate. They'll try to change everything so that it's all about them. There you go. Way to say that you're my soulmate. Yeah, absolutely. Like that's a really good way. Like, hey, like we are so much alike. We have the same interests. Like we like the same music. We like the same things. Like we must be, we must be meant for each other. We must be soulmates. I've done EMDR therapy for a couple months, and then right now I'm in just like regular therapy as far as like talk therapy. I've been doing that since March. Yeah, March. Every week, and it's definitely helpful. Hey there, good to see you on. But yeah, therapy is definitely helpful. There's some days I was thinking about the other day. There's some days I come out of therapy and I'm like okay, and there's some days I'm kind of like, oh, I'm feeling empowered. I can conquer the world. I'm doing better. And then there's some days I come out like completely destroyed. I'm like, but yeah, it has its ups and downs. But yeah, I think everybody has that whenever whenever you get into therapy. This week's been more of a narc week as far as just like actions, attitudes, thoughts, like just in my head.
Somebody asked, what got you to get help?
Like a million things. I think like really what got me to get help. There was a couple like main things. One is I went through a group Wake Up Warrior Challenge, and that really like cut through a lot of the bullshit that I was living, and started making me question like, hey, like what lies do I actually have? What lies am I actually like living like day to day that I'm not acknowledging? Everyone. Kind of like the premise of some of it was like men just have to stop fucking lying. Like that's how like some of it started off, and I was like, okay, like I don't have these lies, but then I started realizing like I do, and they're buried deep down inside, and there's a lot of different lies that all of a sudden I started seeing and started populating through that time. I was also involved with another girl who was high on the BPD scale and also had narcissistic traits. And that really kind of opened up my own eyes because I saw a lot of the same stuff that I was doing, basically getting mirrored back to me, except it wasn't just mirroring, it was like actual because I wasn't the only person that she was doing it too. So that kind of woke me up as well. And then I also had a couple of the people in my life that came into my life at the right time, along with God, that I guess the easiest way to put it is kind of like help reparent me in different ways, like reparent like emotions and working through like different things as far as like how to start bringing up emotions, how to start realizing like what I was actually doing. But yeah, there's a lot of different things. I didn't hit rock bottom, and there wasn't like one point that I was like, oh, I need to change this. There was just like multiple things along the way.
Narcissists are so toxic and cause so much harm. I'm glad you're getting help. Little side note, everyone is toxic.
A lot
Sorry.
of people cause harm besides narcissists,
Not
but I,
just
I
men.
agree. um, So coaching, I do a couple different things with coaching. I do some that's kind of just like life coaching, like people just trying to get to the next level, whether it's in work or like whatever it might be. As far as like coaching, I talk to a lot of people that have suffered from narcissistic abuse and are trying to either break the trauma bond or trying to get some answers or clarity of like what's actually happened, what the narcissists think, like where are they at now, or sometimes it's trying to help them deal with their narcissist in their relationship of like how do they get out, how do they work through it. And then I also talk with a couple people that reach out to me that are narcissistic or that have started to realize. I talked to a guy this week, or yeah, I think this week, that his ex had sent him some of my videos, and he started watching my videos, and he was like, wow, like this guy's literally like just talking about my soul. And he was like, I had no clue that anyone had any idea about this kind of stuff. And so he reached out to me, and so it was a good talk, and tried to give him some things to be able to work on and some advice, and hopefully he takes it, and we'll see from there. So I had a couple who asked me the other day. They were like, "Will you reach out to my narcissist?" And I'm like, "No, like I'm not gonna waste my time trying to talk to your narcissist. Like if they want help, they can contact me." I was thinking about the other day I should make like a different section of one-on-ones on my website that's like for the narcissist and charge like double. Be like, if you want it, you gotta pay for it. No, I'm just kidding. But it's actually really exciting sometimes to talk to someone who is a narcissist that wants help. Like that's to me that's like really cool. It's like a really awesome moment to have them come on and be like, I think I'm a narcissist. or like I feel like this some of this stuff might actually be true. Like, how can you help? And like that's really what's like pretty awesome.
The plus side about toxicity is that it can be positive or negative, but everyone has toxic traits. Not to disagree, not gonna argue. Just think. Give me 2 seconds.
If they seem self-aware at times, is that also manipulation? It can be. Like sometimes a narcissist can become or appear to be self-aware or appear to agree with you in one sense. So like gaslighting is like the idea that you're trying to convince the other person that something didn't happen. So let's say, for instance, I'm in the middle of an argument with my wife, and I get to the place in the argument where I realize that she's actually right. Then what I would typically do is then I'll change it. I'll change it as soon as I can to change my stance on it or to say that I wasn't thinking a certain way. To be able to make her doubt, make her question, and change the script on her so that she's no longer thinking about it. So a good example, I would say like a not a bad example in one sense, was it's probably like a month ago, but it was in like the healing process. Um, but it was we were sitting at the table. Our daughter was playing with her Paw Patrol, and Kayla was like, you know, she said one of them's name was Rocky, and I was like, no, that's Rubble, and she was like, no, that's Rocky, and then she like looked it up, and she like turned the phone. She showed me. She was like, no, like it's actually Rocky, and I was like, that's what I said. Like it was just like an instant response, and so like that's like a slight example of like gaslighting. Is you want to be able to change the other person's perspective of what actually happened, like the facts of what actually happened, as quick as you can to be able to take yourself out of the limelight or take yourself out of the place of you might actually be wrong. Why does yours keep you within arm's reach? So a lot of times they'll do that to be able to have their cake and eat it too. If they can continue to have you in their lives and be able to manipulate you while they're with someone else, I mean that's kind of like perfect for them. I know I was talking to someone the other day, and just like a lot of people don't think through it whenever they're in like a long-term relationship, but narcissists like love long-term relationships. Like that's like perfect. You know, you can have someone literally on the like on call, like or I've said it before, like on tap. Like you literally have someone on the other end of the phone that you can use either for like a texting supply, emotional supply and things like that, and then you can go out and get your physical supply from someone else. And so that's something that a lot of times has a lot of red flags whenever people are long distance. Not that long distance is bad in general, but a lot of narcissists love that concept because it makes it really easy. Sorry for my nose. Um, what is it? How do you handle boundary crosses? Sorry. How do you handle boundary crosses? I'm not sure the direction of the question there. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. My nose is awful right now. So like narcissists love breaking boundaries. So like a boundary for a narcissist is a challenge. It's a mountain to climb. It's a pinnacle to reach. It's a war to win in one sense. Like a boundary is something that a narcissist at times can like live for defeating or coming up to or stepping over. Or the ultimate win would be you setting a boundary and the narcissist coming up to that boundary and getting you to cross the boundary. Like that's even more of a win for a narcissist because they not only got you to break your boundary, but they manipulated you to do so. And so most narcissists, they look at the boundary, they'll try to get as close as they can, or they'll just completely step over and not care. But another thing is if they can try to manipulate you to get to that boundary, they'll definitely do that. Yeah, agree to a boundary, social media. Okay, social media and porn, and then he crossed it. Justified because he wasn't cheating. I mean, he was emotionally cheating, and he was cheating on you because he was giving something to someone else. Like, still counts. They just try to justify
I
anything.
I had to learn not to look at porn as cheating, but there's definitely like a line where it comes to like fake videos that were created versus live videos. Like when you're like live chatting with somebody while they're getting naked, it's a lot different than just the videos, but it took a long time and a lot of therapy to get there.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still a sedative. It's still something that is going to hurt the relationship. It's not going to help anything. So if he actually cares about the relationship, he's still not going to do it.
Thanks for pointing that out, Ben.
Why did my narcissist cry after I found out he cheated? He never cried. Probably to appear that he had empathy, or to try to manipulate the situation. Last straw was a silent treatment. Moved out, left me confused, anxious, depressed. Yeah, 100%. Did he get desperate and reach out to an old girl? No, she's not playing that game. Yeah, I mean, they'll reach out to anybody that'll take him back. Any version of supply. His boundary speak of. Yeah. I know he loves me with his version of love. Yeah, if you mean his version of love is manipulating, controlling, and lying to you, then that's his version. So just be careful how you view love. I don't want to leave
Well,
my
that's
husband.
the.
He's destroyed me, but I love him. Hmm.
Have you noticed that lately a lot of the things that you hear is like people are loving people to the best of their ability? And it's really messing with a lot of people. Like there for a minute, I was like, well, maybe he does love me to the best of his ability. Listen, your love is what's important. How you love yourself is what's important. His best ability doesn't matter.
Hmm.
You can adjust your ability to love people.
Yeah, because the narc adjusts their ability to behave in front of other people. Like that's why a lot of people are like, oh, like I didn't even realize he was a narcissist and abusing you. Well, yeah, because you never saw that side of him because he would only appear a certain way in front of other people. I know there's one video on here that talked about like anger issues and things like that. As far as like no, like they don't have just an anger issue because they can control it. They can control it in front of the people that they want to control it in front of. I think mine gets married to cheat. She gets so high off of cheating, her go-to fuel. No, that makes sense. I mean, cheating is a high. It's an adrenaline rush. It's have your cake and eat it too. But it's like, can I lie and manipulate the people around me and get away with it and get supply from someone else who thinks I'm the best person ever? Like, it's very much of like a high.
I'm going to jump off here. Maybe I'll jump back on later if you aren't
Sounds good.
crazy with
Thanks so much
questions,
for
but I
jumping
don't
on.
want
I
to keep
appreciate it.
interrupting. You're
No, you're
welcome.
good.
Bye.
See ya. If anybody else wants to jump on real quick, either jump on, be able to share your story, ask some questions, things like that. So Chelsea's been trying to get to 1,000 followers for a while, and she jumped on to be able to say hi. She's got a pretty awesome story as well, that she's slowly getting on TikTok with everything. Do they ever get exhausted? Yeah, narcissists get exhausted. It's really confusing and hard keeping track of all the lies. That's why you either lie out of a mission or you try to lie as close to the truth as possible so you don't have to remember as much. It's a lot easier just telling the truth and you don't have to remember anything because it's the truth. But for a narcissist, it does get really confusing and exhausting, like having to lie and having to keep that barrier and that facade up of which lie am I telling who. He gets exhausted by you telling him how you feel about his actions. Yeah, I mean that's because part of it is like him not wanting to realize or think through how his actions hurt you or how his actions are wrong or inconsiderate, kind of a thing. And then sometimes they're also, um, sorry, something popped up. I lost my train of thought where the question was. But yeah, sorry, completely lost my train of thought. Like something popped up on the screen and I completely lost my train of thought. Why did my narcissist ex speak to his ex the whole time he slept with his since the split? Again, a lot of times they want to be able to keep supply. They want to be able to keep someone on tap. Was your anxiety high when you were constantly lying? Must be hard to keep track. No, not really. Like my anxiety wasn't. Like after a while, like it was also after a while, it was also just a natural thing. Narcissists can keep friends, I'd say at least like a little bit, or at least for a while, depending on the type of friends or depending on how much they're going to put up with. Sometimes they attract like similar friends, like narcissistic friends or friends that are enabling, and so it doesn't really like matter. Burgundy Blue, hello. Do they attract empaths as? Sorry, it keeps popping up as well. I mean, I think narcissists go for just about anybody. What if I never hear from him again? Does that mean he is not a narc? No, that means that you're free and work on growing yourself. Block and make sure there's no way for him to get back. Doesn't matter if he's a narc or not. If you are free from a toxic person, stay free. Does keeping up with the different stories, lies affect memory? Yes, I think they do. I've seen some studies on it saying that they do, and then I also struggle with some stuff that has like memory gaps, which is kind of weird. Yeah, that's true. He said he's better to keep friends, more better in a relationship. Why than get married? I mean, a lot of times the narcissists would think getting married means they're like tied down, they're trapped. So some of them wouldn't want to do that. That was funny. So typically narcissists don't really care about their children at all. Like they are looking for them either for supply or for validation or someone that's actually going to look up to them and help them feel about like the center of the universe. If the kids aren't doing that or aren't helping with that supply or they're taking away from his supply, then they're not really, yeah, not really. Sometimes when they're obsessed about getting someone pregnant, it's so that they can lock you in. It means that you're gonna have to be involved with them for life. Some of them like think that. Some of them have said that. As far as like once you have a baby with them, then like you're trapped, like you're stuck. That's like the thought process. All right, so someone put on here like when can I talk about like when the final discard is? So like sometimes people are like, oh, like I want my narcissist to block me. I want them to leave my life and actually like leave me alone. And well, that's fine and great. Like that's not going to happen. Like people have to realize like a narcissist isn't going to block you. The narcissist isn't going to walk away and say, hey, like I'll actually leave you alone 100% for the next rest of my life. But a lot of times people put that responsibility on them. They didn't respect your boundaries or respect you to start off with. What makes you think they're going to respect you and actually staying away? So as a result, people are like, when's the last Hoover? When's the last time they're going to come back? The last time they're going to come back is the last time you let them come back. And sometimes people are like, well, I'm not letting them. Okay, well, have you blocked them fully? Have you gone no contact? Have you completely ghosted them so there's no way for them to contact you, reach out to you, or manipulate you anymore? Oftentimes there's still ways that they'll try to contact or they'll still try to reach out to you that you haven't taken those steps to be able to block. Hopefully that makes sense as far as like the final Hoover or the final time of him coming back. No contact 15 months, that's awesome. Make sure there's not a way for him to come back. Restraining order, yeah. Yeah, it's easy. If you aren't completely no contact and like blocked, then they will find a way to manipulate. Like I was doing a one-on-one the other day, and the person was like, don't be mad at me, but this happened, and she was like almost completely no contact, but there was still a way for him to be able to get through. And he said a couple things. He knew exactly what to say to be able to get her to respond, and as a result, she ended up getting back with him for a period of time before she finally cut it again. She was like, I knew I shouldn't have talked to him. I knew I shouldn't have, responded to him, all this kind of stuff. But she was like, I did, thinking like maybe it'd be okay. Maybe I'd tell him what's what. And no, he just manipulated it back. Told me you wanted to propose me on week 3. Is he definitely a narc? I mean, who knows? But I mean, narcissists do like to rush things. They like to future fake. They like to get someone locked in as quick as possible. So a lot of times they're the first to say, I love you, the first to see about getting married as quick as possible. I know there's one that Lee showed the other day that they dated and they were married within like, I don't know, something like 2 months or something like that. Like it was like super fast. Because of his holidays, he came. Yeah. Yeah, holidays are definitely hard. I know a lot of people that it's hard. I put out like a couple videos during the holidays trying to like just remind people like they're going to prey on your emotions of, hey, I should talk to this person or I should be nice during the holidays. Like that's exactly what they're counting on. they're counting on your empathy to hoover you back. Yeah, no, it's definitely hard with kids because the kids are confused. They're wondering what's going on, and then it's hard to be able to make sure that the contact is no contact. Using a third person, using if you have to like just email, like using anything you can to try to keep those boundaries there. Do you think it's beneficial to expose a narc? A lot of times it can be really dangerous exposing a narc, so I'd be really careful about that. Sometimes when people have exposed a narc or like brought the truth to light, it backfires on them pretty good because the narcissist has already built up another story on the other side with other people that just validates their story, making the empath look crazy. And other times it's actually made the narc like stay away a little bit, but I can't say 100% like either way. Yeah. I used to call and ask how many. Yeah. I mean, they'll use anything to be able to contact. I know there's one-on-one I was doing, and the narcissist would call, like, saying they wanted to talk to the kid, and then while they're talking to the kid on FaceTime, they'd be making comments that the mom could hear, just trying to be able to get to her. Another way to try to be able to get back, and she like kept the phone like turned so that they could never even like see her, but still like it was something that was very triggering and trying to control the other person just through the kids. And a lot of times narcissists will do that. They'll try to use the kids in their lies and their manipulation. They'll try to use the kids in getting back at the other person. They'll try to use the kids in how they communicate with the other person, like you name it. A lot of times they'll use anybody and everything because they're looking at kids, they're looking at people as being transactions, as being means to an end, as being like assets to be able to get to something, you know? What would it take to stay with a narcissist? If the narcissist isn't wanting to change, then it just take people willing to be abused and manipulated. Like, you don't really want to stay with a narcissist unless they're self-aware and actually getting help, then there's not really a point in staying with an abuser. Told his new supply that our kids were his god kids. But yeah, narcissists do abuse. Like they abuse with manipulation, with gaslighting, with the lies that they tell, with how they try to manipulate and twist things so that people don't understand what's actually going on. That's why a lot of times conversations end up in these big brawls and tears, and you walk out of the conversation not even remembering like what you even started talking about or like what the conversation, the argument was about, because that's their goal, to be able to throw you off course, to be able to change the dynamic of the conversation so that you're on the defensive version instead of like calling them out on their BS. My ex-nar is extremely good looking. I'm sure getting new supply is easy. Will he hoover me? Who knows? The best way is to be able to block and keep that door shut so that he can't, and so it's not a possibility for him to hoover. Because you never know when they're going to hoover. Sometimes it could be a week, 2 weeks, 6 months, a year, 2 years. That's the hard part about it. Partner isn't self-aware that he's narcissistic, but he does get therapy and tries to be better. So the biggest thing with if he's a narcissist, you want to see consistent change and you want to see honest vulnerability. If you don't see either one of those, then nothing's going to happen. They can go to therapy all they want and just become a better manipulator or become better at their craft or just be gaslighting the therapist and nobody has a clue. But if you're not seeing your narcissist be honest vulnerability and consistent change. Those I would label as like the two things of being a growing narcissist in one sense. If they're not going to have those, they're not going to do anything because they're built on lies. Then they're built on hiding. Who's that? Dominique, thanks so much. Yeah, absolutely. It was great to talk to you on 101. So I know there's a couple people on here that I've talked to one-on-one. Other people that have only contacted me through Instagram or YouTube and things like that. I've been surprised how many people from Instagram have like contacted me from one-on-one. Not that like I put anything different on there, but I don't really do like any lives and stuff like that. X went to therapy too, never took accountable for anything. Yeah, absolutely. Like therapy is some narcissists like to go to therapy because it gives them an active like test center to be able to manipulate someone else. The other people they like going to therapy because they can learn and figure out how to manipulate even more people. How you talk one-on-one is go to my website, rawmotivations.com. Click the link in my bio. Either way, you can click one-on-ones and be able to schedule a one-on-one there. Oh yeah, someone else has that too. So I know I've got a couple openings like this week. Obviously, like next week's already open up as well. So rawmotivations.com. You can see one-on-one. If anyone's interested too, you can go to rawmotivations.com and there is a tab I think up now for the app. I announced I think like a live or two ago about the possibility of a Narc app. So I labeled it Narc, Narc. So Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community is what I'm looking at. So a place where people can actually come together, be members all on the same platform, be able to message, post, communicate with each other, but then also start to put kind of like classes and courses and things, whether that's trauma bond, narcissist, right now doing narcissistic definition, and then some trauma bond, putting some audio stuff on there as well. But yeah, the app is in the works. Right now we're trying to get it approved, get everything set up through Apple and Android. The web version, I actually might roll out a little bit early if people are interested, because the web version of the app is about live and people can start signing up for that. But it's got a couple of different tiers and categories, trying to make it where it's beneficial for other people, but obviously I have to make ends meet too, so I dropped about $1,000 like into it, but we're looking into having that rolled out hopefully within the web version, hopefully within 9 days, is my goal. So we'll see. But anyways, let's see. Hoovering. Yep. Hoovering is what they do. Narcissism and addiction, the relationship between them both. So, a lot of narcissists struggle with addiction. They're either looking for addiction to sedate or to be able to hide the lies and the feelings and the thoughts that they're trying to bury deep down inside. So a lot of narcissists will have, you name it, any type of addiction, like pornography, like sex, gambling, drugs, alcohol, like any type of addiction. It comes a lot of times hand in hand. Comes a lot of times like hand in hand, just because they're looking for a way to sedate. They're looking for a way to be able to sedate their life, because their life sucks. I mean, they're trying to fill a void that no one can fill. They're trying to fill the void. So how do you know if it's addiction or narcissism? I mean, there's a lot more characteristics that go into narcissism than do addiction. I mean, addiction's pretty cut and dried if they're addicted to something or not. Narcissism, you got full like 9 categories to be able to look at. Identify them with 5, and that's typically what can put them as narcissistic. Sorry, guys. I've been stuffed up. The weather here has been like crazy. Like it was like 20 something degrees the other day, and then it was like in the 60s, and a couple weeks ago it was like in the 70s. Like my sinuses are like all over the place. I'm not sick, it's just like sinus stuff. I've already had COVID, I've already had all that crap. It's all knocked out. But yeah, just sinus stuff. So trauma bond is where you are attracted and want to go back to the toxic person that ruined your life, and you still want to go back. And you still want to go back to the person that you know isn't helpful for you. But that bond is something, it's kind of almost like Stockholm Syndrome is kind of really close, where you start being attracted to your abuser, your kidnapper, or whatever it is. But that's kind of like the same idea. Yeah, no, Texas is pretty crazy with that, with all the seasons. No, absolutely, yeah. It's been the weather here is like kind of crazy sometimes too, because like I'm on the coast, so depending on like the weather coming up the coast or depending on the weather coming off the ocean, it can be like all over the place. Is it difficult for a narcissist to not contribute financially to the relationship? Yeah, it's typical. It's typical for them to freeload. It's typical for them to come into your life and take all your money, to abuse the finances and not really care. Yeah, a lot of times that is typical. So when you catch yourself gaslighting and your wife does too, is there more to that? I don't know. Do you apologize? Yeah, it's more of an apology now, and it's more of a like actually calling out, where I'm like, oh yeah, like sorry, I didn't mean to do that, or like, oh yeah, like this is going on. Hey, Chrissy. But it's definitely more of something now that actually can be called out, where in the past, like that call out was non-existent, or if she did try to call me out, then it was back to lying, gaslight, manipulate. That doesn't work. Let's rage and just turn on the defense and kind of move on. They took all the money. Yeah, no, yeah. No, you're good. Um, I'm getting like random people that are asking to go live, but they're not like jumping in the guest. I don't know. If anyone wants to go live, they can click the guest request and come on. I have a couple people that ask them like do a live. I've done it like once or twice before, but if I don't know who they are, like sometimes it can be like really sketch. Um, why continue live when he gets called out every time? A lot of times it's habit. It's like ingrained in them because they view that lying is the safest way to be able to keep their safety, to be able to keep avoiding shame, guilt, keep avoiding the fact that they might have to admit that they're wrong, etc., etc. Lying oftentimes becomes like a habit, definitely like ingrained. But yeah, if anybody wants to go live, click the guest requests and jump in. Would love to talk to you like one-on-one on here. Like either come on, share your story, or come on and ask some questions. I've been in consistent therapy every single week since March. Well, yeah, March of last year. So coming up on a year here in the next couple months. And then before that, I did some EMDR therapy. Before that, I did kind of like some random therapy, like back and forth, but didn't really know what I was doing or what I was looking for. I shopped around like for a while. There's a while where I was seeing like 4 different. We're gonna unplug so we don't overheat. There's a while I was like seeing like 4 different therapists, and then started narrowing down like which one was going to be good for you. Do narcissists feel like they're above doing housework and cleaning? They feel like they're above everything. So it's not necessarily just housework and cleaning. It's more or less like they're above like everything. Like they view themselves as being special and being like the king of the universe and like the person who's better than everybody else. So like cleaning, yeah, that'd be something that they would feel like they're above. Does anyone want to go live? We had Chelsea on here for a little bit earlier. Does anybody else want to come on? Every week is like, who's going to do it? And then some people do, but it's normally like at the very end, they try to like squeeze it in. Still going to be on here for like another like hour and 15. So, partner hasn't found a good fit for therapy. What should you look for? Look for people with trauma background and narcissist background, so they know actually what they're dealing with. Do you have 1,000 yet? If you have 1,000, you need to come on. You definitely need to come on. Mike Budgeon kids, you need to come on. Or we just need to do it on Instagram sometime, but you need to come on live as well. Chris, you need to come on as well. EMDR, yeah, EMDR is awesome. I thought EMDR was like a bunch of quacks when I first went. Like I was like EMDR is crazy, and then I got through like 3 sessions, and maybe it was like the 4th session or whatever, and all of a sudden we like broke through a barrier, and I was like, holy crap! Like what is this? Like there's like emotions under here or something, and like we started actually dealing with some stuff in the past, and I was like, wow. So yeah, it helped me with a couple things. I did it for a little period of time. My wife did it for a little bit longer. But yeah, EMDR is pretty cool. I don't know like a really good way to explain it. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, so a lot of people have done EMDRs. EMDR is like great for like trauma for sure. Do you get triggered when you see us, and how is it different or the same? Do you I don't know what you're asking. We're doing brainstorming. My therapist like gets into everything. Like she's awesome, but she's like crazy. So like she tries like a lot of different stuff, and it's also like freaky because like she'll come back and she'll be like, I just learned this new thing, or I was just with this group that does this, and she'll like show me something, and I'll be like, okay, that's weird. But yeah, it's pretty wild. Expose your trash and it is your froze. There's comments I don't know what they're going to. I'm sorry. Does that mean they're done or will they be back? Oh, you never know when they're going to be back. Um, like I think with narcissism, that's the thing is they can always come back. They'll always try to come back. That's why you don't. That's why you have to make sure you close the door and make sure they don't come back. You know. Where'd you go? CPSD. Yeah. Single memories. I would say it'd be good for both because they could work on dealing with different sections. How do I get triggered or do I? Yeah, no, I definitely get triggered. I get triggered with like responses, with attitudes, with shame is a big one. Like when I feel shame, when I feel guilt. No, I definitely still get triggered all the time. Does narcissists get triggered when they see old partner? Yeah, I would definitely say they would. I would get triggered if I saw different people. That's why I make sure I don't see different people. But yeah, like so the girl that I was with for a period of time, she has BPD and narc traits, and like literally like the I had part of a trauma bond with her for a period of time, and we still live in the same town. Like she's still in the same town. Like she's seen like my therapist has run into her. Like I haven't run into her, but I also like watch constantly like when I'm out and about. So like literally we'll be going into Target or Walmart or grocery store or something like that, and like as I'm walking in, like I'm scanning all the cars. Like I'm making sure like okay, like there's not a black Hyundai anywhere with this license plate, and I'm looking, trying to make sure that I'm going to avoid that because I don't want there to be a possibility of me to run into her. But yeah, there's a whole lot of life that's happened with all that. Oh yeah, sorry, I missed a bunch. Feel bad shaming, guilting after I receive authentic honesty from an cause. 90% do cheat in one form. I think all narcs cheat, or all narcs have some aspect of cheating for sure. A lot of times they'll hold grudges to be able to help validate their own self in one sense. It is exhausting for sure. Xnar, he got supply from the bus. I don't know if this is appropriate, but do you miss her? Oh, okay. You asked him about do I miss the BPD? No, it's not inappropriate to ask. Like I've had a lot of people ask a lot of crazy things. No, I don't now. There was a period of time that I did. I definitely did miss her, and part of that was the trauma bond, and part of that was me wanting to go back to her, even though I knew I was just another guy in the long line of guys that she'd been with, and for me, like I knew that she was toxic for me, but I still wanted to go back. So like even after I went no contact, even after I blocked her, like there'd be days I'd like unblock and then block, and there'd be days I'd try to open that door. There'd be days I'd like sit down and like get ready to write a text message and then be like, no, I need to stop. I know there was a day a little while after I blocked her that she had an account on, I don't even remember the video thing. I'm like Marco Polo, and like I went on there and like started to do like a recording, and then like stopped and like deleted it, and like I was just like, this is stupid, but like still the pull is there, and that's why when people deal with trauma bonds, like I can connect with them to some degree because I've experienced it, because I've seen it. I don't think I've seen it and experienced it to the same depth and level as an empath per se, but I definitely would say I have experienced it. And so like that's why a lot of times I'm working with people in one-on-ones trying to deal with trauma bonds, trying to deal with narcissistic abuse, get them out of relationships or get them out of the place of they're still wanting to go back. They're still wanting to go back to the person that abused them, but they're like, I still love them. I still want to be there. They romanticize everything. They romanticize things that they shouldn't romanticize. And a lot of it is like trying to break it down step by step through their feelings, through their facts to get to the place where they realize like, hey, I can move on. Like it's okay. But yeah, no, it's definitely so give you a perspective on that whenever it finally came to light. So like I told my wife about her, and she was still in our lives for a period of time because of the fact that, I was gaslighting, manipulating, trauma bond my wife, like everything like that. And so like there's a period of time where we confessed it, and then the girl was in my life for another 10 months. 10 months before I finally blocked her and cut her out. And that was like one of the hardest things, but it had to come from me because like my wife was saying do it, her sister was saying to block her, like all this kind of stuff, and it was like I can't do that to her, like blah blah blah, and like finally got to the place where I was like, I have to realize who she is, I have to realize like what's happened, I have to realize like all this stuff, like yeah. Sorry, that was a long answer to your question, and there's like I could probably talk about it a ton more, but we'll move on. Don't know who's saying what, but anyways, where are we? Sorry, I missed like a bunch of stuff. So if y'all have any other questions about that, ask me. I like the answer. I could probably listen more. Yeah. They need to have like a separate live just for that whole relationship because that was like really, 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 really screwed up. Especially like the fact of like that relationship still being in our lives, 10 months after, was just crazy. But it felt natural. It felt like this is what we're supposed to do. Like, I think there was a messed up part of me that thought, like, maybe we can make all this work. Like, I can convince my wife, I can convince her, everybody can get along. That's what happens in, like, movies and TV shows, right? Yeah, no, not real life. How do you break the trauma bond? You have to deal with the facts, and you have to get below your feelings to the facts. Otherwise, you will romanticize a lot of stuff. Are you working with possible narcissistic men? Yes, I've had the opportunity just this past week. I talked with one. The week before I talked with another or two others. It's really awesome. Really awesome to be able to talk to some guys that are narcissistic that come on here and they're like, hey, I actually identify with this stuff and I need help. And so it's been neat to be able to work with them. I don't think all of them have done my advice or like gone through with it, and that's on them. But yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, my wife, she actually told me one time, she was like, I think God had me in your life for that period of time when the other girl with BPD, like once everybody knew, she was like, I think God had me in your life for that period of time, whether we stay together, whether or not, I think God had me in your life just for that period of time to protect you from her. Like, oh man, there's some crazy stories, crazy stuff with that. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just rambling on, missing all your questions. I sound like Lee tonight. No, I'm just kidding. So my wife was trauma bonded. There was definitely a period of time where she would identify that she was trauma bonded, and now, like, I mean, there's an aspect that we've gone through a ton of trauma together. So there is an aspect of that, but she definitely isn't at the place where she'd be trauma bonded now. I mean, she left for a period of time. She didn't come back because she was trauma bonded. She came back because I was putting in the work, trying to work and change. Are you able to give your wife live? My wife came live. Oh, love. So my wife did come live one time. It's on YouTube. You can go on and watch that. We did like a 2-hour live. Do you go to therapy together individually? Good question. So yeah. So good question. So if you are with a narcissist, do not go to therapy together. Period. Okay. Now, if you're with a narcissist and they're actually trying to change, then they should be getting their own individual therapy. But narcissists love to go to therapy together because they can manipulate the whole situation. Okay. Now, the reason why I'm currently now starting to go to therapy with my wife is because we've both been in therapy for about a year individually, and we both come to the place of like, hey, we agree we both actually want to work on the marriage. We want to see what's here. We want to see what we can work on, and we need to do that in a good environment. So we went to a therapist. No, we went to a counselor. We went to a Christian counselor for a period of time. Don't really recommend it because it didn't really help because they don't have a good well-versed in narcissistic tendencies and like abuse or some trauma. And so we went with them, and I started seeing the red flags as I was in counseling. Well, one, it was like a Sunday school class, and I was like, this is not helping because this is what got me screwed up to start off with. And then another part of it was he was starting to say different things that I could easily tell. I was like, this stuff that you're saying is literally giving me fuel if I wanted to use this to manipulate my wife. And so I finally just told him, I was like, thanks, but no thanks, but we're done. And we went and we found another person that has different background, different tendencies. He would identify as a Christian, but it's not Christian counseling at all. He has like therapy background. and he's working with us from like the emotional side and things like that, because that's a lot of what's screwed up. So at least from like the Christian side, like you can have like, great fuel from a Christian counselor of how the wife's supposed to respect the husband. And so then the husband's like, so you're supposed to respect me. You're obviously not respecting me, blah, blah, blah. Like, what was the example that we had? When we were doing it, the counselor said something along the lines of making it easy for us to like read together, and like gave like a half-assed example of like, maybe like the house being picked up, or like a welcoming environment for us to be able to connect and to be able to read the Bible and stuff like that. And like just like everything that was said, I was just like, holy cow, like this is just like so much fuel, and then I can just come back to it and be like, see, you're the reason why I'm not the man I'm supposed to be. Like, you're the reason why I'm not leading you spiritually. You're the reason why I'm cheating. You're the reason, like, et cetera, et cetera. Like, no, like the reason why is I was just a coward and an asshole, and I didn't do what was right. And so, like, you can't blame a person's actions on someone else. Like, she didn't cause me to cheat. She didn't cause me to manipulate or gaslight or anything like that. So that's why, anyways, all this to say, counseling, don't go with a narcissist unless they're showing consistent change and honest vulnerability. If they're not doing that, then they're just going to use counseling to badmouth you, to manipulate you, to gaslight you, to be able to turn it all around, and they get fuel going back and saying, hey, you're the reason why I'm this messed up. And this is what the counselor said that actually proves and validates that. Could you go to therapy with your partner just to observe? He said he wants me there. That'd be interesting. I don't know. I mean, you could. You might see something interesting. I mean, well, if someone's a narcissist, like, let them talk long enough, and you'll typically be able to figure out if they're narcissist. Yeah. Yeah, a counselor or a therapist, like, needs to be able to pick up on it. If they're not going to be able to pick up on it, then you're kind of screwed, so you might want to try finding another one. Do you believe that you will never cheat again because of therapy? No, I don't think I'll never cheat again because of therapy. I think I'll cheat because of things I'm putting in my life that's changing my life. It's not just therapy. It's in my own mind, of my own actions, attitude, of the work that I put in every single day that's setting up boundaries, barriers, and changing my mind of how I'm identifying with who I am and where I want to go in life. How do you empathize as a narcissist in therapy? How do I empathize? I mean, I don't really have much empathy, so I'm not sure how I use that in therapy. What kind of advice do you give if he keeps being nice when I know it's not him? That's a tough one. I mean, really, you want to make sure that it's not him, but you want to keep doing what you need to do to protect yourself, to be able to grow yourself. Wouldn't going to counseling to observe enable a narcissist to gaslight or put on a show? Yes, but I was saying, like, if you actually went, it would be kind of interesting to be able to see what would happen. I know for me, I would be interested in going just to be able to watch, but I would also be able to pick it up. Sweet. Thanks. Someone just scheduled. But I think it'd be interesting to be able to go to counseling to be able to watch a narcissist, because I'll be able to pick it up. I'll be like, like, can see what that is. But it's kind of crazy. Like, Lee said one time to me, he's like, let a narcissist talk long enough and they'll tell them themselves. It's very true. Like, in one-on-ones or in talking with different people, like, you can pick up on narcissistic tendencies. You can pick up on a narcissist, like, really fast once you know what to look for. And for me, like, it's also like, I wouldn't say I'm like a narc sniffer where I can identify them all the time, but for me, like, when someone is one, like, it's easy to pick out really fast, because I'm just like, hey, you're following the same book. Like, I wrote that chapter a couple years ago, stuff like that. How do you know if you're NPD and not just full of narc tendencies? NPD goes a lot deeper than just having, like, tendencies. So it's not just like, everybody has narc tendencies as far as, like, they have, like, a bad day. Sweet, thanks so much. Everybody has tendencies, like, they have, like, a bad day or, like, a narcissistic attitude or something like that. But narcissism has more of a consistency and has more of a mindset that you have to go along with the disorder of like, hey, like this is actually the person's mindset and reality of this is what they believe, this is what they think, this is how they act day in, day out, and it's more than just like tendencies as being like one or two things. According to DSM-5, it has to be at least 5 out of the 9. Excuse me, 5 out of the 9 characteristics. Somebody come live. I haven't had anybody come on in a little bit. Hit the guest requests and pop on live. So either ask a question, share a story. Is this level of tension sparking any old narc instincts in you? No, if anything, like this kind of stuff as far as like the one-on-ones, the YouTube, the Instagram, the TikTok, if anything that helps me more with my personality of like wanting to help other people, and it actually is different than just like supply. So like supply for me was always like developing like deep relationships with people and then ended up like cheating with those people. But like that was completely different than a lot of the stuff that's like on here. Having a physical contact, oh, he texts me and is so nice too. Little suspicious. Yeah. You're an hour late for this live. It's okay. You got 1 more hour to go. So you got plenty of time to ask questions or come live. Need someone to come live. Haven't had someone in a little bit. Chelsea came live earlier. I know I don't know if we had anybody last week. And it's been a while since we've been doing consistent lives because of the holidays and everything like that. Do narcs get jealous that you feel empathy, or do they think that you're weak? Most of the times they view you as being weak because you're not feeling, because they're not feeling the same things you're feeling, or they'll just get frustrated because they can't identify with the emotions that you're having. Yeah, TikToks are annoying where if you don't have 1,000 followers, you can't. I've heard you could appeal that. No, my wife's not on here. That's funny. No, my wife pops in like time from time, depending on the lives. But yeah, like the other week she was like, "Oh, I heard you say this," and I was like, "Yeah," and like, but yeah, she normally just pops in on. I have heard you can appeal it. Who was on here the other day? Was it the Brewski or whatever? Like he said something about you could appeal it to be able to get on live. I don't know. I've never done that, so I'm not sure. Have you done a smear campaign on someone before? No, I would say I haven't really done as much of a smear campaign, but I've definitely covered my bases, or I've prepped other people to make sure that if they did come out with information that it wouldn't look bad on me. So I guess that's partly a smear campaign, but like not like a full out smear campaign. I guess more or less like smear calculating, getting ready for it, but not necessarily. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, therapy has definitely helped. I think part of the things with therapy is like one, it's like a way to be able to mentally like process like different emotions, different thoughts going on, and actually trying to like work through a lot of things going on. With some of it is also like trying to tap into emotions, trying to dig down deep and try to figure out like what's the shame, what's the guilt that has been in my life through past trauma, through past events, through past emotional neglect, like whatever it might be. And then like working through that has been really interesting. So like we did a exercise, I guess it was a couple weeks ago now. I forget what it is. I want to say it's like Soiza, but that's not the right word. But like basically, like I have to like watch something that she's moving around, and she was like, I think like happy thoughts, think like a positive, like happy feeling, and then she would like stop. We talk about it for a second, then she's like go back, and I'll think like sad thoughts, go back and everything, kind of like similar to EMDR, but different as far as what it was, and because it was dealing just with like feelings per se, and it was like really interesting because when she was like telling me to think like the happiness and things like that, that's when I was starting to feel emotions and I was like starting to tear up. And when I was thinking like the sad thoughts, I was like more like flatlined. And so I was like, okay, like we definitely still have a lot of work to do for sure. Yeah, the narcissists feel jealous. They feel jealous of controlling another person. My wife has access to any of my social media. Like there was a period in time where she would like go through my social media. She doesn't necessarily anymore, but like she has access to it. Would you say you have childhood trauma from parents, or is one parent? I think one of my parents has narcissistic tendencies, but I think mine was along lines of like emotional, lack of emotional support, emotional neglect. Yeah, no, before I started getting therapy, before I started like working on a lot of stuff, like I didn't have tears. I didn't, it was kind of a joke like in my household of like, oh, like he actually like had emotion or like teared up like right on the calendar because it was that rare. Funerals, things like that, like I wouldn't cry, nothing. Thank you all for sharing this. There's a period of time where she'd go through some social media and stuff like that to see like if I was like trying to hide stuff or trying to cheat, or there's a period of time where she was going through because I was still communicating with the one girl with BPD. Like it was all messed up for a good period of time. Why can't my narc husband seem to tell me when his brother or anyone is being one to him? I'm sorry, I'm like not sure where we're going with that. Can narc develop selflessness by working on being more self-aware? Yes, they can work on it. Do you find yourself gaslighting, manipulating? Yes, I find those tendencies like all the time. So like working through it and trying to make sure I identify it. My wife will call me out on it. Like the mental like manipulation is hard. It's less in one sense than what it was before because it's not necessarily based on like malice or like trying to hide the other side of me or like trying to hide like a cheating side because we're not doing that. But like manipulating is like really ingrained a lot of ways. So okay, let's try to think. So over the holidays, we went out of town to her parents, and then my parents came in town after the holidays. So my parents don't know anything about my TikTok. They haven't found me on. Well, I've already blocked them on Instagram, so they don't know I have the Raw Motivations Instagram, and I don't think they've found me on YouTube. And so they don't know anything about it. They know that I've kind of dabbled in it, and they know that I've done a little bit of like online stuff, but that's about it. And like no clarity as far as what I've done. I haven't shared any of this with them as far as any of this kind of stuff. And so they were here, and I'm in my garage, and we came home one night, and Kayla just opened the garage because that's normally what we do. We'll open the garage, trying to get stuff out of the car, and just walk through the garage. And she like opened the garage, and like in the back of my mind, I'm like kind of annoyed because we're getting out, my parents are getting out, and everybody's like walking to the garage, and I don't want them to walk through because I've got like computers, camera like set up and stuff like that. So it's pretty easy to tell like, hey, there's something going on. And so like everybody walks in, Sophia's walking in, and my mom's like standing here in the garage. And like I look up, I see her in the garage. I like grab the stuff that I have. I like close the car door, and then just out of habit, I like look up. I see she's still in the garage. I open up the car door again and start like cleaning out stuff in the car. Stuff that I wasn't planning on doing, stuff that I didn't need to do, but I had to do it in that moment so I could be able to get a couple more seconds gap so she'd actually step back into the house, because I knew if she would step back in the house, there'd be less chance that she would talk to me about the equipment out here. So like there's an aspect that like manipulation is like ingrained in certain aspects, and there's aspects that's why I'm in therapy, obviously, and talking through a lot of stuff because it's figuring out like what's prompting that, what's trying to avoid different things. And that was something that I talked to both therapists about. Like it came up whenever we were talking to our therapist in couples counseling, because we talked about her family, we talked about my family, and then I brought it up when I was talking to my therapist as well. But yeah, so I mean that's like a small example because it's like different now. Is it uncomfortable for narcs to be narcs? No, not necessarily, because I think they're the best person ever. So for most narcs, it's pretty awesome being a narc because they don't know anything better. So yes, they pride themselves in being narcs. What do you do if your family have seen the narc behavior and now hate your partner? I mean, if anything, they're probably showing you the red flags that your narc partner is not good for you. Did you ever triangulate your wife from your mother? No, we live far away. I would triangulate like my wife with supplies, but not with my mom. Sorry, I'm like missing some stuff here. Why did it seem like he was permanently love bombing, yet being so horrible deep down and behind my back? Yeah, I mean, a lot of times they're going to do that in front of you, and then go behind your back and talk crap to someone else. Like sometimes they'll do it to be able to look like the victim, so that they can get another supply. Sometimes they'll do it because like that's how they actually view. They're just like lying and love bombing in one sense. Sometimes they're love bombing and then they like stop. They kind of like leave like breadcrumbs so that you're trying more. So you're trying to push even more to be a better partner. So you can be a better. Maybe the communication is on your side. Like all that kind of stuff. They'll start trying to think through it. How do I get my partner to seek help? It's got to come from them. They got to be willing to try to seek help, and you have to be able to bring it up in a way that's not confrontational or like accusing them of being a narcissist, because normally that won't get you anywhere. I know some people that have had success with sharing videos, mine, Lee's, like other people, about like, hey, this is something I've heard, this is something I've been learning about, or this is something you might identify with. And as I start learning, then some people have reached out, but there's no concrete way to be able to let people know. Telling the truth is so hard because if I tell the truth, then I have to admit what's actually happened. If I have to admit what actually happened, then I have to take accountability for my actions. If I have to take accountability for my actions, then I have to deal with shame and with guilt and actually work on changing myself versus just hiding it. Are all narcs sociopaths? No, but I think all sociopaths would be narcissists, because I think that would be kind of like next step in the progression of narcissism. Are narcs big flirts? My narc was a big flirty and wouldn't get rid of Snapchat. Yeah, I mean, a lot of narcissists are flirts. A lot of narcissists enjoy and love the supply that they get from flirting with someone and getting that attention from someone else. After you talk shit and smear the person comes back, do you lose respect for them? Yeah, so anytime you take a narcissist back, they didn't have respect for you to start off with, and they have even less for you after you take them back. So if the narcissist, completely like goes out, cheats on you, and you're like, okay, I'll let you come back, like I'll forgive you, and there's no boundaries put in place, there's no like actual change happening, there's no like discussion of like how is this change going to look like moving forward, et cetera, and you just take them back and let them do whatever again, like they view that as being permission. View that as being permission of, because you took me back, you accept everything that I did to you and more. Why is what different? Oh, what I was just talking about. She left for a period of time. Like we were separated for a good while, and the only reason why she came back was the fact that she was seeing me change, and the fact that I was being like honest and vulnerable and getting into therapy, etc. But otherwise, she wouldn't have come back. She left without the intention of coming back. A lot of narcs don't think they're disrespectful because they think that they're the best person ever, so everybody else is beneath them. What about love? You say you love your wife, but where'd it go? But your videos say they didn't love us. Yeah, correct. And like before, when I was cheating on my wife, like I didn't show love. I didn't have that love or that capability, because all I viewed love was how people treated me, how people loved me. A narcissist can't love another person when they have themselves in front of themselves. So like I can't love another person when all I see is just myself. When I'm looking at myself and I'm putting myself as number one, there's no way, there's no capability to love anybody else. Do you have less respect for your wife because she took you back? Not now. In the past, I would say yes, but not now, because of the work that she's done, the change that she's done, the boundaries she set, and things like that. Is it wise to have us both in one of your sessions? As far as like you and the narcissist, if you want to do that, that is totally fine. I've done a couple that have been both parties in the Zoom session. If you do, just please be nice and give me a heads up. The first time it happened, I got blindsided and like popped up, and there was like two people on the one-on-one call, which is fine, but I'm just not expecting it. And like the crazy thing is, like the first one that happened, like I got off and I called Heather and Lee like right away, and I was like, "You'll not believe what happened." He was crazy. He was like full blown narcissist, and like he was like gaslighting his wife on the one-on-one in front of me, and like I was calling him out on a bunch of stuff, and it was just that was the most I've like cussed in a one-on-one because I was like pissed off at seeing him, pissed off at what he was saying. Sorry, that was a little rant, but it was like it was crazy. It was crazy. I mean, it was for me. I think looking on the outside, part of it was almost like fun in one sense because I was like, I mean, I told the guy, I was like, you're not gonna bullshit a bullshitter. Like you're literally saying the same stuff that I've done. Like I'm watching you like read from the same textbook. I'm watching you say the different things, and like it was very interesting. And like watching him like argue and watching him go down the same like logical arguments was funny. Like it sounds bad to say funny. It was funny, but it was like just like infuriating too because I was like, dude, like it was super crazy. Yeah, I do one-on-ones. Rawmotivations.com. Go there, click on the link in my bio. You can do a one-on-one with me. But yeah, like there was just no, it was just crazy. It was crazy. So like we were in the conversation, and I'll try to remember it because it was a little crazy. We were in the conversation, and he said something, and he was like, "This is a fact." And then a couple minutes later, he was like, "Well, a fact is just your perception." And then a couple minutes later, he was like, "Well, that was just your perception." I was like, "Wait a minute! Like you got it all like twisted around. Like what you just said. Like even what you said doesn't make sense." And he was like, "Wait a second." He was like, "Look at the time." He was like, "Is the time the perception or your reality?" And I was like, "All right, dude. Like I know exactly where you're going with this. Like you're trying to if you can break the other person down, if you can tear the other person's argument down, like it's crazy. Like they do it so well. I did it so well. Like you get into a middle argument, your argument's starting to fall apart. People start to catch on to you. You attack the person. You attack their logic. You do anything to defame and degrade the actual person, and boom, you've won the argument. You haven't won it, but you've distracted them so much. Oh, it was just crazy. It was a crazy one-on-one. Like I got off the one-on-one and I FaceTimed Heather and Lee at the same time. I just called them both. I was like, y'all would not believe this. I was like walking around my garage, just being like, this is what happened. This is what happened. Like obviously not telling names or anything, but it's just like I was like, holy cow. Heather was like, good to know because I haven't had that yet. And I was like, be ready. You never know. So anyways, if you do schedule one-on-one, that's two of y'all coming on. Just shoot me an email, please. Just so I have a heads up. But yeah, it's crazy. Like seeing, for me, it's like easy to spot really fast. Just like it's hard. It's like how they talk. It's really like how they talk and how they work together. Yeah, Lee and Heather and we haven't done one in a while. Like we haven't done one in a while. Heather used to come on like every other week or so. We would do one, and I don't think I have Messenger up. I told her that I was coming on this week, so if she didn't come on, that's on her. She was like, we don't do lives anymore, and I was like, well, I'm on, so you need to come on. I don't have Messenger up on my other devices. Someone shoot Heather a message, be like, get on live. But yeah. So sorry, I missed like a bunch of stuff. Why did my wife had to change? I don't know that I said that she had to change. She grew and she developed and she worked on changing herself to be a better person, to identify the trauma she had and the pain that I put her through, where she could live apart from me and not be trauma bonded to me. So in that aspect, she did. Is there supply you still think about? My therapist said he will never let go due to 25 years. Yeah, I would say so. So I'd say there's still people I think about, like not necessarily always on a regular, but they're always kind of like in the back of your mind. They're always kind of like there on different aspects, either like this person hurt me, or this person like ruined this, or like this person, etc., etc. Like some of my story, like once you get into the nuts and bolts, is a little bit interesting as far as like how different things transpired and different things fell apart or disappeared, things like that. I know I did for a long period of time think about like one in particular because she ghosted, went no contact, and that was really rough. Yeah, so like you mentioned, like sex with a narcissist, sometimes it's not, he wasn't even thinking of you. Like you might not have been. You might have been thinking about something completely different, or you might have been thinking about another person. Like, sad to say, but yeah, that's what your therapist. That's what your therapist said, that he's probably not gonna stop thinking. I think sometimes it gets easier this time. Did you turn to any addictive substances after breakups? Not necessarily specifically linked to after breakups, but sometimes during when I was with different people, when I was cheating, like a lot of times it would fill a void, or I'd use that as sedation. So any addictions like would subside or be less. So I wouldn't say I would turn to them. I think I'd revert to them. You could say that. My ex left me because of outbursts, and I'm seeing a doctor soon. Because of my outbursts, I'm seeing a doctor soon. So like, you're saying that because you think you're narcissistic, or you think you're a victim of narcissistic abuse and like reactive abuse? How do I handle the smear campaign? I'm afraid to leave because he gets so mean. I mean, the smear campaign really shows you who your true friends are really quickly, because the true friends are going to be the ones that are going to say like, "Hey, like this is what he's saying about you. I know you more than that. Like that's not true." Hey, well, that's awesome. Like, see a doctor, get into therapy, like, start working on it, be open. Most people, most narcissists aren't open to anything as far as like any type of change, any possibility that they're wrong. So just the fact that you're looking or questioning it is awesome. Um, yeah, Chris, definitely would love to have you schedule one-on-one. So I talk to people with narcissism. Um, I try to get people in this group, Wake Up Warrior Challenge. I don't think I've had a narcissist actually go through it yet. I think either they're chicken or they don't want to spend the time, but it definitely has helped change my life. What do narcs feel whenever the X levels up after going no contact, success and appearance wise? A lot of times they don't like it. A lot of times they hate it. A lot of times they'll explain it away. Of like, even narcissists like seeing another person on Instagram like they're married now. They'll be like, oh, like that's fake. Like it's probably an awful relationship. Hey Gina, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, I love having the one-on-ones. They're great to just be able to talk to people and be able to help. I was talking to someone the other day, and like they were, I don't remember who it was. It's like blanking on me. Well, I was talking to someone the other day, and like they were like crying a bunch like through it, and I was like, it's totally fine. Like it's not gonna, once it's not gonna bother me. Like if you cry on the one-on-one, because like I'm trying to work through like your feelings and kind of work through like what's actually going on. Like deal with the facts and try to walk you through. Hey, these are the facts of the situation. But like I was talking to him, I was like, when we finish a one-on-one, like I care about you because I'm doing a one-on-one. I care about you because I want you to grow. I want your success. I want you to be able to help get that healing and be able to move on. But I think at times, like also, like I can walk away from a one-on-one and not be emotionally tied to it. As far as like the disconnect for me is like really easy. I like talk about the facts. I talk about how for you to get help and growth, and then like if it's like a highly charged or emotional one, like I still like can walk away from it. Hope that makes sense. I mean, part of that is just the narcissistic side of me. You can schedule on rawmotivations.com. You can click my link in the bio. You can find the website on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, anything like that. So rawmotivations.com. One-on-ones is where you can schedule a one-on-one. Would love to talk to you guys if you're the narcissist, or if you've been in narcissistic abuse, or if you're trauma bonded, or if you just want to talk, anything like that. Like we can talk through a lot of different stuff. There is a tab on my website. Like, go on and check it out. There is a tab on my website called Narc, the app. I've brought it up one of the live and kind of been throwing out some stuff there, and I finally pulled the plug and dropped some money on it. And so I'm actually working on designing and developing a narcissistic abuse sorry, I'm like blanking. Narcissistic abuse recovery community app that's actually coming out. So the web version is hopefully going to be released here within the next week or so, and then trying to get it on the Apple Store and Android as well, so that people can actually have a community of people that have been in narcissistic abusive relationships and want to be able to have membership where people can actually get in, like talk to people on a community, on a platform, be able to have like private messaging, different things like that. Have a place to be able to post, have different questions put out, and then have like courses. And my goal is like I'm starting off small, but my goal is to continue to grow it so there'll be more opportunities for more and more course development down the road. So like talking through like trauma bond, talking through like how to identify a narcissist, red flags, and then moving on eventually to other aspects of different abusive relationships. So maybe not just like specifically narcissism, but yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that's coming with that, but that is in time. I hope so. Like honestly, honestly, like my wife was kind of freaking out whenever I like purchased the stuff for the app because like well, like initial purchase was a little bit over $1,000. So like I'm like a little worried too, like just making sure that everybody like wants to get on because I'm looking at having like kind of like subscription, like the lowest one starting off at like $5 a month kind of thing. But just like I also want to make sure that I at least like break even while I'm trying to put this out there to be able to help other people. Um, but yeah, sorry, sinus issues. My apologies. Um, how do you spot a narcissist? I mean, there's a lot of different ways, but you look for someone who's stuck on themselves. You look to set boundaries and see them break them. You look to be able to set different boundaries and see how they actually deal with being told no, etc., etc. Blinsky, yeah, I'm right now I've got like a couple different tiers and I'm just putting them out there to kind of see what's going to happen with them. So I think like 5, 10, 15 or whatever, and with different like access or the upper ones, some of them are just to help like support the app and support the cause in one sense. And some of them too, I'm going to have some links as far as like some discounts or different things as well. But yeah, I'm trying to get a lot of that set up. A lot of it's kind of crazy. He broke boundaries every time I gave him one, claimed he didn't want to hurt me. So that's a lie. So he broke boundaries because he didn't get what he wanted, so he did what he wanted. Big thing was with boundaries is you have to have consequences. If you don't have a consequence for a boundary, then you don't have a boundary. You just have a speed bump for a narcissist. Should make that a quote. Do you stay friends with exes? I don't have any exes that are friends. Narcissists love to keep their exes friends. That way they can have a supply. She's just a friend. Yeah, that's BS. Do not stalk when you go no contact and block. They try. That's why you want to make sure you ghost no contact so that they don't. Boundaries are known as rules to them, for sure. Rules and obligation and control. Like, oh, you're controlling me with a boundary. Like if they actually cared about you, they'd be willing to take that boundary and like actually abide by it. Is it safe to be friends with a narc ex? No. I'm sorry you feel that way. Do they realize it's a non-apology? They do, because that way they don't have to take any accountability for it. Like, I'm sorry you feel that way. Like, obviously I was the one that was right. It's your screwed up feelings. Like, that's just how they can avoid that. Why does he put all new girlfriends as profile pics? Not me. Maybe if you're still looking at him, he's using it just to mess with you. So I'd block and make sure that you don't. Thank you so much. Someone else just made an appointment. Yes, I do work with narcissists. So I really love working with narcissists that contact me and schedule an appointment because they're waking up or they want to change or they say, hey, I think I have these tendencies. I love working with people that say like, hey, I'm a narcissist. I think a lot of times, I think sometimes narcissists that reach out to me like either want validation or like they do actually want change. But sometimes it's like, are they willing to put in the work? It takes a lot of work. If they're not willing to put in the money or the work, like it's not going to happen. I'm not saying like they have to put in money to me. But like one of the things I suggest for them to go to is to do the Wake Up Warrior Challenge. It's a 30-day challenge. Right now it costs like $300 to do it. It's worth $3,000. And, you know, I definitely want people to try to work on breaking through the lies. And that's a really good program to do that. How'd you not get fooled or charmed the same as others if him and I do one-on-one? Trying trying to think of the best way. Like honestly, like I'm really observant and I read a lot of people. So like being able to actually like watch, like I had the one-on-one that I had a while back with a narcissist and with an empath is like I got on and I asked them, I was like on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you guys want the marriage to work? And he was like 10. He's like 10 out of 10. And she was like 5 out of 10. She's like, I'm just not sure like where this is going. There's been so much like gaslighting. There's been so much lies. There's been so much things that I'm struggling with. Like I'm not sure if there is hope with it and everything. And like they kept talking for a period of time, and I finally just like looked at him, and I was like, you talk a good game, but I was like, I don't know how full of BS you are, like because like it was just I think after a while, like once a narcissist starts talking, it just like drips from them. Like especially if they're not willing to change and not looking at changing, like they're just I don't know. It's hard to. I need to figure out how I can actually like write it down. Like I think people would love like those type of like red flags, but like being able to pick up on it like in the middle of a conversation to me is like really crazy. And for me, it like pisses me off because I'm like, dude, like you're an idiot. What are some red flags after cheating to watch out for? Not being honest, not being vulnerable. Like really like different things as far as like the same things that was happening when they were cheating, like being sketchy about where they are, like who they're with, like their phones, like hiding stuff. Like there's a lot of different things like that. Do you think of things about me that I would go no contact? Probably. His parents always victimize it, updated, I don't know where it went. Always victimize him even when he's wrong. His dad is also a narc. Have they caused it? Yeah, it normally comes from their early childhood. It normally comes from parents growing up. Just go in circles, no point in reasoning. And narcissists are great at going in circles. I think now, like being aware, that's why sometimes it's actually like fun to be able to talk to them because I'm just like, I see what's going on. That's my non-empathetic side coming out there. He is also willing to do anything and everything right, but never actually does. Yeah, I mean, a lot of narcissists, they're going to say, like, hey, like, I mean, I did it. I was like, hey, we need to go to counseling. We need to read a book. We need to get into therapy. Like, that's the problem. We have a communication issue. We just need to work on us, blah, blah, blah. But I never did anything. Like, I never took the time to schedule anything. I never took the time to research stuff. I expected her to do it because I didn't want to do it. Like, you'll see a narcissist that'll say, like, oh, we should do this. And then, like, I asked the one guy, I was like, did you contact? And she was like, no, like, I contacted the therapist. And I was like, okay, yeah, see. My narcissism would be lack of emotional support. Had to do on the more emotional side than it did on emotional trauma side than it had to do it on like physical trauma or stuff like that. There's also a lot of shame and guilt that have triggered a lot of that as well. Yeah, a lot of times people start to narc, they'll do reactive abuse. Sometimes you have to do reactive abuse almost to just survive too. What made you want to be vulnerable? Some of it was cutting the lies. Some of it was getting to the place where I realized, like, hey, like, how I'm living is not working. It's not working for me. It's not working for my life. Like, it's not working, period. It's just really just, like, a pile of shit, and it's falling apart, and I hate it. And, part of it, too, I went through the Wake Up Warrior Challenge and really started learning the lies that I had between myself, between me and my wife, between my work, between me and God, like, you name it. And started realizing, like, hey, if I don't start cutting all these lies, and really, like, the vulnerable piece for sure, like, I was stacking on this the other day, and, like, the vulnerable piece for me, I was like, there's going to be no change without vulnerability. And as much as it, like, sucks, like, I have to realize, like, more and more, like, if I want to continue the consistent change, I have to get to the place where I'm vulnerable with myself, with my wife, with my therapist. I have to be, like, honest, things like that, because it's really crazy. So Wake Up Warrior program is put on a guy by Garrett J. White. Some people have issues with him. I don't really care. He doesn't really care either. He's living his life and he's helping thousands of men out there. It is for women too. There's not as many women that go through the program. There are some women in the warrior shelter and things like that. But it provides like he like gamifies it in one sense. It provides like a way to be able to say like, are you cutting the lies? Are you living a real life that's raw, that's relevant to produce results? And like actually looking at it in like a cognitive way of like dealing with your rage, dealing with your emotions, dealing with, you know, all these things that are pent up inside that don't get dealt with as men in general, but just as people in general, narcissism for sure. And that all the lies that keep you from actually getting to the place. So like a lie of like your perception of your reality, of like looking at an aspect of something and like lying about it or only viewing it from like your own perspective versus like taking a step back and being like, wait a second, like is this actually what's going on? Like what is the end result that we're trying to go towards? Like how are we trying to live? How are we trying to grow? What do I need to change to be able to do that? And the change is within, not with changing everybody else. There's like a ton of stuff. Like there's just the wake up, just the warrior book right now. Like here it is. Like this thing is like packed. So at a glance, it's like 560 pages long. Like this thing is like thick. Like I'm going through this again. You can actually go on. Do I still have it? If I don't, I'll see if I still have the link to it. You can actually go on my Instagram, and you can go on to Instagram. I believe I have it on my story. If not, I'll try to put it back up. And you can click on the link there, and it'll take you to a place where you can actually order this book. This is the Warrior book, and then he also has another one called Be the Man, which is a really good book. You can order the book and just pay shipping. It's like $10, and it's like freaking worth it. My wife and I, we don't do one-on-ones currently. I'm right now the only one that does the one-on-ones. So, is it common for them to break promises or buy you, then turn around and throw things in your face? Yes, 100%. That's super common. I missed a bunch of stuff. But yeah, I'm taking a look. Hey, good to see you. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like it's easy to fall for it because they're great at manipulating, for sure. Where do you start with yourself in breaking the trauma bond? A lot of it is what story you're telling yourself and what are the facts supporting that story. And again, that information is from warrior stuff. That's also stuff that I like incorporate into like my one-on-ones and talking to people. But like when you're in a trauma bond, you're thinking like hope, or you're romanticizing that past relationship, or you're saying to yourself, it was my fault because if I would have done something different, he would have changed, he would have stayed, he would have lasted longer. And the reality is like, no, it doesn't. But actually breaking that down in story form and then in fact form is really helpful for a lot of people that I work with in talking through trauma bonds, is they'll be telling themselves a story. Like, like a popular, I guess I would say like a popular one is like, if the narcissist actually cared about me, or if like it was my fault because they didn't hoover. Like a lot of times people will be like, if the narcissist actually cared about me, they would have hoovered. And I'm like, wait a second, like what do you define hoover as? Oh, well if they hoovered to show that they actually cared. Okay, well what facts do you have to actually support that they cared? Did they cheat on you? Yeah. Did they lie to you? Yeah. Did they manipulate you? Yeah. Did they gaslight you? Yeah. Okay, so what are the facts actually showing that they actually cared about you? Well, there actually isn't any facts that they cared about you. Okay, so why do you think that they would hoover out of care? No, they'd hoover out of manipulation. They'd hoover because they want to control you, not because they ever cared for you, because they didn't demonstrate that care at all. It's like a tiny glimpse of like what we try to break down. I like write stuff down and try to like go through it with people, because that's like one example of like what people struggle with trauma bond and with like thinking through, and everybody's telling themselves a story, everybody's telling themselves a perspective that a lot of times you have to really dive deep. Like I talk like, hey, we have to go a couple levels deep to be able to get to the point where you start to realize like, hey, the facts of the situation don't support the story that I'm telling myself, and as a result I have to change that so I can actually get to a place of growth and freedom. Go to my website, rawmotivations.com. Click on the link in my bio, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. You can click on my website. So rawmotivations.com. Links in the bio for one-on-ones. Feel like I'll never lose hope that he will care. Start to take responsibility and feel remorse. Yeah, I mean, you can have hope, but the biggest thing is that your hope doesn't open a door. You have to keep the doors closed, otherwise that hope will be your downfall, and he will use that hope for his own advantage to come back and manipulate and destroy you. Rawmotivations.com. If someone would throw it in the chat for me. Some of you guys have already done. My phone keeps like thinking it's going to overheat. Some of you guys have already done one-on-ones with me anyways, but yeah, rawmotivations.com. Thank you. Use excuses because of his drug problem. Yeah, 100%. So he'll excuse anything. Yep, he would say and do things that made me feel like he truly cared, but did cheat, lie, and manipulate. Yeah, and that's where you have to look at the facts, because the facts show you that he didn't care. You have questions, pop them in there. Is it possible for a narcissist to love to a degree? Love to manipulate, love to control. If they're truly narcissistic, not very much. They'll love themselves. Heather didn't come on. No. I haven't seen Heather pop in. Yeah, they'll blame stuff. They'll sedate with a lot of other things. So narcs love themselves. So like they have great love for themselves. But the problem is they can't love anybody else while they're in front of themselves. So common for narcs to also be addicts? Yes, 100%. Do narcs know they're just doing this or think it's normal? A lot of them think it's normal and think it's a natural response. They don't always get into a relationship to hurt and abuse. Some do, and some, especially on the sociopathic side, like that's like their goal. But a lot of narcissists get into relationships, and then how they've been brought up, how they've been raised, how they've been grown, how their emotions have transpired. They think that a lot of stuff they're doing is like natural and needs to be done in order to protect themselves. Yeah, narcissists would be insecure to be able to face their guilt and shame. Yeah, I'm seeing aspects of that with my wife as we're getting treatments, we're working on stuff. Yeah, they'll blow up and then they'll come back and act like nothing happened. So like they'll have like a huge argument, they'll rage, they'll get really mad, then they'll come back and act like nothing ever happens. Like they're very good at disassociating, at like disconnecting different things. Less than a month after his first divorce is finalized, they're always going to try to rush that marriage, always going to try to rush that next thing. It's depressing to know you could be so manipulative to love them unconditionally. How do you tell if someone's a covert narc? I mean, it's hard. You can identify stuff with DSM-5, but just like looking at like setting boundaries, seeing how they respond to no, looking through like the love bombing stage of like what red flags are you seeing while they're being so incredibly like loving, giving you gifts, etc. What'd you say? Why at the end I felt like all he wanted from me is to be his mom. I mean, in one sense, a narc almost needs someone in order to even like get even to a place of change to kind of like reparent. Like I had people in my life that end up coming alongside and in one sense like help like reparent me. They help like change like my perspective. They help me develop different aspects of my emotions, and so a lot of times they'll identify things like that. Why do they get mad when you want to communicate? A lot of times they get mad because you're trying to express like your feelings and your emotions, and they don't like that because they don't like having to deal with their own, especially having to deal with someone else. Yeah, they self depreciate but not like it when they get caught out in bad behavior. Yeah, a lot of times they use self depreciation as just like a way to be able to get you to come after them more. Like, oh well, like you're just too good for me. Like I'm not good enough for you. Like you don't deserve to be with a guy like me. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, you'll come back. What can we do to help this behavior help the person see if something? Mine won't speak one-on-one at all. Next got me to think it was me so much I went to my doctor to see if it was me. Yeah, I mean they'll try to gaslight you to a place where you think that you're the cause, you're the reason, you're the narcissist. Boundaries do not exist, makes me controlling, belittling, and makes him less of a man. No, he is less of a man already, and the fact that he can't respect your boundaries means he's less of a man anyways, because he doesn't respect you enough to actually live in a way that would honor you. What does your therapist specialize in? She's got a lot of like narcissism background, sex addiction, like several other things. But yeah, she kind of like she specializes in like some of those things, but then she also dabbles in like literally everything. Like sometimes she's like, "Hey, we're gonna try this," and I'm like, "What?" Is there a way to send you a recorded conversation to analyze? Yeah, I've had some people do that. They'll email me like an audio, or they'll email me like a texting chain or whatever, and then they'll schedule a one-on-one. We kind of like break it down piece by piece. I was in the middle of a one-on-one one time when the person on the other end got a text from their narcissist, and I was like, literally, I was like, she was like reading it off to me, and I was like, literally, do you not hear? And she was like, oh, like it sounds like he's trying to apologize, and I was like, no. It's like he's not trying to apologize at all. He's like completely manipulating you with that conversation. It was like really interesting to like break it down for her, like literally like line by line. Because he started off on what was it? He started off on like, hey, like I don't know if you've blocked me, and I was like, when did you block him? And it was like a month ago, and I was like, yeah, he knows he's blocked. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that was like manipulative. It was crazy. But yeah, like schedule one-on-one. Shoot me like an email with whatever stuff. Yeah, I'd love to talk one-on-one. One-on-ones right now, off the top of my head, like I do 30 minutes, an hour and a half, and it's 30, 55, and 80, 70, 80, I think, something like that. But yeah, so I did. What was it? It was like a month ago now. I did do a trauma bond workshop like a month ago. It was like a 2 hour, 2.5 hour thing for like $70 that we had like 4 or 5 people sign up and like actually like walk through trying to break down like trauma bond stuff. But it was kind of cool to do like a group session. I don't know if people do another. Yeah, I was gonna say if people are interested, I can see about putting another one back up on the website and we can see about doing another one. Games are crazy. Yeah, games are crazy. But yeah, one-on-ones are great if you want to talk through like different things. Like breaking the trauma bond is one of a big one for sure. But yeah, I've had people send me like audio. I've had people send me an email. Like one person like scripted out a whole bunch of stuff. Like sent me like emails and a bunch of stuff. If y'all are interested in a workshop, I'll see about putting it back up on the website. Like I gotta. It probably wouldn't be till like the first week of February or something that I could pull it off just because I've got so much going on right now trying to get the app ready. I'm hoping to have the app at least ready for like web release soon so that people can be able to log in and use that. It looks the same, it's just you'd actually have the app versus it being on Safari or on the web. But the app and stuff is pretty good. So it's neat. I've got like a couple like sneak peeks. If you go to my website, you can see the one-on-ones. The trauma bond workshop I'll put up there. You'll be able to see that as well. It'll be underneath the one-on-one section. But then you can also click. There's a tab for the app, and it has like some blog posts that are coming up, like one every other day. Today's what, Thursday, so there should be another one releasing like tomorrow, and you'll be able to see like it shows like a couple like snippets of the app for different aspects of the app. Can someone drop it in the chat? Rawmotivations.com. Right here. Oh, yeah, here we go. Here, I'll respond to you and get it. There's a link right there. I don't think you can actually click on the link. Or even if I could, I wouldn't want to disappear out of the live. But yeah. Differences between borderline personality and NPD. Really good question. So, like, there's one thing that's also coming out in the app is I'm trying to do a section of like misdiagnosis. Right now it's like small, but we're gonna keep growing it. So like borderline personality and NPD like look the same. Borderline, you have a couple differences. You have a little bit more tapping into empathy. You have a little bit more on the drama side that you'll use empathy emotions to be able to bring people into their like fold in one sense. But then BPD, you also have more tendencies of suicidal thoughts, suicidal actions, self-harm, different things like that. You'll see more in the BPD side than you ever see in the narcissism side. And that's speaking just from DSM-5. Well, and some of my own experience, but DSM-5 talks about a lot of that. Not necessarily the book that made me self-aware. There's a book that I had after going through, but it's the Warrior book. You can't necessarily buy it just out there. You should be able to go to my Instagram. I think I have it on my story or in my I know I have it in. Actually, I have it in my highlight. If you click like highlights, like need to hear or whatever, you can go in. You can pay $10 for shipping, and like literally, this book is like 584 pages long, and then it's also, I think he's also doing a special where it also has the other book with it, Be the Man, which is a really good book too. But I went through here's one of the shirts, Wake Up Warrior. Went through the Wake Up Warrior challenge, is a 30-day challenge. Right now it costs $300. It's worth $3,000. Like, it really is really good. What does it say about me if I keep attracting narcissists? It means you're used to that, and that's what you're going to keep going back to. And so keep educating yourself to make sure you know what they're like, and make sure you deal with the facts instead of the high off of being with a narcissist, because it does get addicting. It does get to be like the norm, and you start feeling like, hey, this is how I get my validation. This is how I get love, when it's not actually love. It's just something that you've been used to for a period of time. He jokes, but is not joking. What does hurtful jokes mean to you? Really, it's a way just to stab the other person, but be able to explain it away. How do you know you're not the narcissist in the relationship? Read up the DSM-5. A couple people have gone and take different tests. There's like a cool like little test. Was it minddiagnostic.org has a narcissist test. It's not like a huge therapy test. It's just like a quick one that can give you like an idea of like what tendencies or how much tendencies you have. People with BPD and NPD can have both tendencies, but they don't always. Yep, 100%. So, yeah, a lot of times if you're questioning yourself, like, that's a good sign, but you can still like dive into it to be able to see like, hey, what is a narcissist actually made of? Like, do I identify with this? And you have to really dig deep. It could be someone that is a narcissist. They have to really dig deep and be honest with themselves. Otherwise, they're not going to get anywhere. But yeah. Heather just messes the group. Should have jumped on the live instead. I started saying the typical narc saying. But yeah, so if y'all are ever interested, all right, so I'll see about, because just from response from everybody, I'll see about putting up another trauma bond workshop. Let's see, what's today? Today's the 6th. Pull my calendar here. Come on. February. Maybe we can shoot for like February 5th. February the 5th is a Saturday. I know last time I did it Saturday, like 1 to 3, 1 to 3:30, whatever. Yeah, we're on TikTok today. I didn't want to do all 3. I just didn't have it into me to. I've felt more narcissistic the past couple of days. I didn't feel like having all 3 going. YouTube, I'm less sensitive. I'm just like, y'all are a bunch of trolls. No, I'm just kidding. It's good to see you on here. But yeah, thank you for saying great workshop. So some of you guys suggested about me bringing it back. I can see about putting up a workshop for February 5th. That'll be like the next day. That gives me some time to hopefully get stuff released here with the Narc app, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community, and start to work on getting that started and all. Where do you think your narcissism started at when you were a kid? Some of it was like emotional, overbearing, over-controlling parents and lack of emotional support. So like learning, like if I bring this up to my parents, like I'm going to get a lecture, I'm going to get told like that's just not how you do it, like you have to do it this way, et cetera, et cetera. So it started off some of my like lying and manipulation to the place where I was like, okay, like I need to lie so I can avoid a lecture. I need to lie so I can avoid like hearing what I don't want to hear so I can get what I want, like all this kind of stuff. And so it developed a lot of different things. There's an aspect I developed a little bit of emotional support with another family, with another person, and then that ended pretty hard. So like that also was helpful, but then it added on worse on the back end. I have a lecture. I do feel bad. I gave a lecture. Don't feel bad for giving a lecture. We're getting ready to get off here in a few, but yeah, I got with the first narc at 17. I was 19 years. long basically my whole life. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Did narcissists have bad depression? I think off the top of my head, I would say depression you would see more often with BPD than you would with narcissism. Excuse me. But I do have aspects where like I've struggled with depression some, but it's not super huge and it's like far between. It's like once every month or once every couple months kind of a thing, I'll have like a depressing day or something like that. I would always like at learning more, I would kind of like joke around being like, I think too much of myself to be depressed, you know? Um, yeah, I think that's why you don't see a lot of narcissists that struggle with like suicidal thoughts. That's more of like BPD and stuff like that because I think narcissists have too big of an ego to actually go down that route. Can someone develop BPD by being with a narcissist? I don't really think so. Narcissism and BPD are cluster B that's grown more early on than it is like developed later on. Maybe a day mine would get depressed, but only for a day, then off to new supply. Yeah, I mean they're gonna sedate, they're gonna move on to the next person. Let's see. While I'm thinking about it, I'll see if I can pop in. Oh, somebody else scheduled. I just noticed a new one popped up. Let me see. I don't know if I can reactivate the old one or if I need to do a brand new one. But yeah, we'll see about putting up a new trauma on workshop here. Isn't BPD more genetic? I haven't heard that, so I don't know if that's true. I don't think so. I think that'd be more sociopath, psychopath that have a little bit more of the genetic side. Yeah, narcissists aren't going to change because they're not willing to actually get real and be honest. For sure. How can I help my son and my 4-year-old granddaughter with a BPD mother? She tortures them. You have to work to make sure that you're there for them emotionally and be able to support them. Oh, sweet, we can duplicate it. But really, like when you're dealing with the idea of raising your children, whether it's co-parenting with a narcissist or something like that, like you end up becoming like both the parents because you're trying to be there for them emotionally, you're trying to be there to not shame them, you're trying to be there to be able to help them grow and be able to develop their emotions, be able to handle them, versus there's emotions like controlling them. Let's see. I just duplicated it, so I think I can actually like pop this up and switch this pretty quick. Select date and time. February 5th. Oh, let me change the time. Can do 1 p.m. All the times on my website are Eastern time. Sometimes people ask me. I think it actually says it, but 2 hours and 15 minutes. 1 second. Cool. I think it's up. Let me check. I'll refresh the website and let you know for sure if it's up. But I had people asking about it earlier. Come on. Sorry if you're commenting. I'm not looking. Co-parent, yeah. With both parents is so hard, yeah. If y'all can sign up for the workshop, please. Oh, yeah. Hey, that's good to see you on here. Hardy girl, thank you so much. I appreciate the plug. She actually came through the Trauma Bond workshop last time we did it, and it was really cool. So we had several people. Sweet, it is up. So I was actually really fast. Right, so if you guys go to rawmotivations.com, one-on-one coaching, go to Raw Motivations, click on one-on-ones. It's actually right at the top. So I just got it set up there. So events, got it set for February 5th at 1 p.m. Breaking the Trauma Bond workshop. So if anybody's interested, you can actually go on there and grab a spot. So, what are the long-term effects of a child if the parent is a narcissist? I mean, really developing some of those some of those traits. I mean, if they don't have the emotional support, they don't have the emotional stamina like helped by another parent, then they're typically going to start sliding in that direction. That's why a lot of times people will be like, oh, narcissism is born, not developed. Well, a lot of times the narcissists that are born that way are brought up in narcissistic households. I don't think that narcissists are necessarily born. I think that they're a product of their upbringing. I think I'm a true narcissist, but I also think that narcissism is like on a scale. Like your higher end of narcissists, you start going into like sociopaths and psychopaths and things like that. But I do think narcissism is on a scale. So I think like myself, like Lee, like we're on different places on the scale where we've actually had different life. We've had God. We've had different aspects that have actually come into our lives and have started to bring us to a place of actually changing and working on ourselves. I don't think we're going to be like changed or healed per se, but I think we're going to be aware to the point that we can still like work on developing us to not be exactly who we are. Going to fly out to visit only to coerce me to leave 48 hours later. And it's hard to say. Manipulation, guilt tripping. I mean, sometimes they want you to leave really quick because they got someone else coming over. I mean, I know that seems like crazy as far as like flying out, but you know, you never know. So anyways, if you guys don't follow me on YouTube, please go on there and subscribe. Help me out just like looking at that. I've got longer videos on there. We've been trying to put up like 8-minute long, 10-minute long videos on there just talking through narcissism. It helps when you guys comment or just ask questions on there so I can try to work on more content, more videos to try to break down narcissism like one by one. If you guys are interested in talking one-on-one, you can go to my website, rawmotivations.com, click on one-on-ones. The event is up there now, so Breaking the Trauma Bond Workshop, you can click the sign up for that. Or if you just want to talk one-on-one, that's totally fine too. I think the event is capped at like 10 people, so if it fills up, then we'll look at doing another one. But it's at least up there if anyone's interested. Where do you see the trauma bond part? I'm not seeing it. So go to rawmotivations.com and then click on one-on-ones. Yeah, it's there. If you can see, so go to rawmotivations.com, click on one-on-one, and then it's right there at the top, Breaking the Trauma Bond Workshop. And then if you scroll down, it's got like the other stuff. So like narcissistic abuse. So go to rawmotivations.com, click on one-on-one, and then it's right there at the top, Breaking the Trauma Bond Workshop. And then if you scroll down, it's got like the other stuff. So like narcissistic abuse recovery, and then like coaching, life, general stuff. But yeah, that's all. It's on there. Heather, yeah, raw motivation. Here, let me put it. Click. There you go. That's the website and the link. What'd you say? What's Heather's? Heather Coleman Voss. Heather Coleman Voss. She's working on her YouTube and Instagram. Oh yeah, there you go. Thanks. Cole. Yeah, except you mistyped it. It's Coleman. M-A-N. But yeah. Heather Coleman Voss. So, but yeah, she's on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. So she's trying to catch up to me on Instagram. I've got like double what she has, but she deleted her Instagram and like restarted. And then YouTube, she's trying to slowly get that up. But it's fun. Like all three of us like talk. All three of us like really text back and forth like every day. Like it's actually, some days it's like, you know, hey, just checking in, saying hi, and other days is like talking about like either social media stuff, or it's like dropping in like different videos from different people being like, what do you think of this? Or like, you know, Heather will tag me and stuff, or Lee and stuff, and be like, hey, can you guys duet this or stitch this or give us your opinion? It's a lot of fun. We've been talking about like doing something together. Like I really want to do an event sometime, like an actual like event, like not just a live, but like an actual event where all three of us would be on Zoom with some people. But I don't know like what focus we'd have, because when the three of us get on a live together, it's kind of like all over the place. It really is. But it's fun. We have a lot of fun. But yeah, any other try to heavily confuse and devalue today? Yeah, they'll do that. Like, I'm sorry that happened to you, but they'll do that. Focus on your growth. Focus on your healing. Any other quick questions as we get ready to jump off here? Again, I threw the link in there, rawmotivations.com. You can go in there. You can click the link in my bio. Follow me on YouTube. Subscribe. Help us out that way. Oh, it is under more. If you do go to my website, you can click on the More tab. It's got a link to the podcast and then also the Narc app. You can see that. I think it has updates. Let's see. Yeah, updates. You can actually see, you can see a little bit there. So if you go to it, it's all backwards, sorry. But if you go to, if you go to the website and you click more, there is. If you click more, you can actually see Narc, the app, kind of a countdown when it's going to come out. And then also just like a couple like screenshots of different things. It's kind of like a blog there. And then also just like if you're interested, you can click to like sign up just to get like updates about it. Or like if you're interested in like helping like partner with it, because I've got different like content creators who are interested in getting on and just helping provide like courses, tools, like information. But yeah. Awesome. No, glad to have everybody that came on here. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, just let me know if there's anything that I can do or that I can help you guys with, whether that's one-on-one or like shoot me an email. What is my email? It's ben@rawmotivations.com. So it's like all linked together there. I'll be on for a couple more minutes, but we're getting ready to wrap it up here. Yeah, if you need help, reach out. We'd love to talk to you. So you can go onto my website. You can schedule one-on-one. We can talk some. I've got it filtered, so I'm not seeing anything. Well, thanks so much. Sorry, sometimes it's hard to tell who's who, either from their profile picture or from like their like title, because obviously people have different names than what their account says. But anyways. Oh, gotcha. Hey. Yeah, no, I think honestly, like that's one reason why people do one-on-ones with me is because I don't BS you. Like I just tell you how it is. Like I did, I don't know if she's on here, but I did a one-on-one with one lady one time, and like she was talking through a bunch of stuff, and I was like, I don't think you realize how much you're minimizing everything. And she was like, you're right, I actually do that. Like I didn't realize it. How do you know? And I was like, I can just tell by how you're talking about it. Like you're minimizing like way too much. Like you need to understand like what's happened to you, and you need to understand like it's actually a big deal, and you can't just minimize it or excuse it away. Yeah, no, absolutely. A lot of times narcissism will be prevalent in the whole family for sure, which is like hard because then they like hide and cover for each other or ignore it or lie or whatever. I'm like blanking. So I have 30 minutes, an hour and a half. Off the top of my head, it's like 30, 55, and 80, 70. Someone asked me earlier and I like completely blanked on what the hour and a half one is. And I have the website up. But yeah, something like that. Rawmotivations.com. Rawmotivations.com. No, I was right. 30, 55, and 80. Sweet. Thank you. Here, I'll drop the link in there as well. I don't think you can click on the link, but at least you can like see it or screenshot it real quick. So rawmotivations.com one-on-ones is the link to it. So we just dropped, as I was talking here, like people said go for it, so we just dropped the link for the trauma bond workshop that's up there as well. So we did one of those back in January and got some really good feedback from it. So people really enjoyed it, and hope that it keeps like working out. Tony, how's the no contact going? You keeping it up? It should be what? A couple months now. But yeah. Do all the one-on-ones eventually rob all your energy? No, not really. Honestly, the biggest thing with one-on-ones that like robs my energy is like sitting down. I need to get one of those desks that like raise up and down. And like, I mean, obviously I'm on TikTok, I'm on the app, I'm on like the one-on-ones to be able to help people, to provide like awareness, healing, growth, and change. But like, at the end of the day, when I finish up a one-on-one, I'm not necessarily like emotionally drained. It's more or less I'm just like tired of like, I had one day that I had, what was it, 6 or 7, like all back to back, and I was mainly like drained because I was like sitting the whole time. But like, I enjoy talking with people, trying to be able to help them however I can. 12 weeks on Sunday. That's awesome. That's awesome. Keep it up. Stay blocked. Stay no contact. Stay no way for him to get through. I cheated. I looked it up and I was like, oh, it was 9 weeks ago whenever we talked. And so I was like, it's gotta be getting there. That's awesome. That's encouraging. I'm glad to hear that. Continue to work on yourself. Continue to grow. It's worth it. Is there anything else? Yeah, you keep invalidating your experience with him, keep forgetting the abuse because he has someone else. Yeah, a lot of times people like compare that. They'll compare and they'll be like, oh, like they're so much better with a new person. I think they're doing well, better with a new person, things like that. When actually they're not. You're just seeing the love bombing from the outside. You can go no contact a lot more than what a lot of people think. Even if you're going through like a divorce or something like that, you can contact through attorneys, through lawyers. You can go no contact as far as like having a third party be like your mediator. You can contact only through email. There's different options that are viable and can happen. They suck and they're not easy, but it's a lot easier than seeing a person face to face or being on the phone and being triggered by how they're communicating or by how they're devaluing you just to get a reaction out of you. Thankfully, like, mine is a lot less, but there's times where I still do, like I still will say something or do something to get a reaction out of my wife. Now it's more along the lines of like just being like annoying and like waiting for her to be like, stop being annoying, but like in the past it was definitely like a lot worse for sure. Yeah, no contact is the best way. Let my narcotics reach out to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, peace to your new girlfriend. It's just a way to be able to get you to contact them back, to be able to talk to them. And they'll do that. They'll go wherever they can to get a savior complex, they'll get other supply, to be able to get someone else's affection, adoration. Lied to myself almost as much as he lied to me. I made up every excuse trying to understand them. Yeah, in reality, when you think about it, I made this thought the other day, is that when you come down to it, you've got the empath and the narcissist that are struggling with the idea of wanting a false reality. Like the empath wants the narc that they originally fell in love with that doesn't exist, and the narcissist wants to keep the false reality of the person that they think they are that they're actually not. I would get like pissed. Like when my wife would express hurt or emotion, like I would get mad, pissed, frustrated. I still have, I would say, the tendency now, but it's a lot easier like understanding and knowing like where I am and where she is. It's hard not to like just jump to try to fix it. Like that's still a lot of times my issue of like I need to listen versus trying to fix the problem or getting annoyed at the problem. But there is more aspect of being able to listen better, be able to listen more now. 8 weeks, that's awesome. That's one thing that people have said that I'm actually putting in the app is just like it's not gonna be anything fancy, but it's literally a no contact like login. Like you log in, you put like no contact 8 days, no contact 9 days, like to be able to keep it going. That way you can, journal, and that way you can remind yourself like, hey, this is the reason why I'm going no contact, and it's been this many days narc free. That's something that a couple people suggested that we're putting in the app as well. I think I have. I don't know where I put it. Social. I wrote down like today. Like it's like a bunch of stuff, but you can kind of see it's like a bunch of different ideas that people have like given me on TikTok and on Instagram that they've like responded saying like what they'd want to see in the app. And like some stuff I can do, obviously, sometimes I can't because like I'm not building it from scratch. I'm going with a company, but it's still some change to be able to get it going. But I'm excited to be able to kind of work to piece it all together. There's gonna be like some free stuff on there. Going to be some different aspects of people getting into like a community where you can actually not necessarily just like Facebook, but where you can like post, have like different like texting chains, but you can also like message people like privately on there as well. And then like some tracking to be able to track like how many days narc free, some like with the tracking, almost like a journaling aspect, a couple things like that. So, and then definitely like the courses, and then eventually, like if we can get it like off the ground, like going pretty well, there's actually another company that I want to like incorporate with the app. It's called like Typeform. And like the free version only handles like 100 responses or whatever, but like down the road I'd want to be able to actually buy like a paid version of this thing called Typeform where it's actually like interactive and you can incorporate it into the app, which is really cool. So like you could type in like how you're doing that day and it would come back with a response, or it would ask you like yes or no questions, and based on how you answer it kind of like try to like logically like walk you through different things, and then like it could give you like a report at the end or kind of like save it. I feel like even saying that is like very like vague, but like the possibilities of that are really like endless. But it's just something that I'm gonna have to develop like later down the road as we get people on the app, because that whole section is a whole nother like monthly paid stuff that I have to like look into. Anyways, it's 10:50 my time, Eastern time, so I'm gonna get ready to jump off here. So follow me on YouTube, subscribe to me on YouTube, help me out that way. Got longer videos on there. Just leave comments, support. Really appreciate y'all. Go onto my website. So we got the Raw Motivations one-on-one. That's where the Trauma Bond workshop is. If you guys are interested, we're looking at February 5th. Drop that in there already so you guys can pick up that. And then also, if you click on more, you can see the podcast and also the Narc app information on there. And you can sign up if you want to get some more information about it. So anyways, that's about all I got. Thank you all so much. I appreciate everybody being on here. We should be back next Thursday. So thank you all so much. All right. Let me get out of here. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.